Here she is now, Helen DeGeneres!
So today we're going to be talking about a more serious topic. We're going to be talking about homosexuality and gay marriage. For our first guest is a professor from the University of Southern California, Gabby Bamberski. How are you?
Good.
So, start off, what do you think, in your own words, what homosexuality is? What are the different types of homosexuality?
Well, homosexuality involves a variety of things, including gay people, lesbian people, bisexuals, and transvestites. Gay people and lesbian people, they have intimate relationships with the same sex. And bisexuals, they also have intimate relationships with the same sex, but also the opposite sex. And transvestites, they're a little more complex. They involve people that believe that they're one sex, even though they are the other one, and then they will date their same sex, although mentally they think that they are another sex. And that starts off when they're born. They think that from the very beginning. But it's very complex.
Yeah, it's hard to understand what's going on in the
Yeah.
head. So how did homosexuality become to be partially accepted, and where did it start?
Well, in the 1950s, it was first came around and first believed that it was a mental illness until about 1973, when it was off of the mental illness list. They took it off, and then since then it gradually became better. There still are some harsh things people do and say about them, but it is a lot more accepted. Mm-hmm. And then some it's just some people that have really bad problems with it because they don't know if they want to come out with it because it's just really bad.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. And what are the diversities of acceptance of homosexuality?
Well, in America, it's a lot better than it has been. There are only 6 states and Washington, D.C. that have legalized the marriage of same sex. And then in the Middle East, it's really harsh over there. And I really do hope it gets better over there.
Yeah. It's hard. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Bye. Bye. So our next guest, world-renowned sociologist Brianne Wojciechowski. So thanks for coming.
Oh, no problem. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's just get started. What are your views on why do you think that homosexuality occurs in society?
Well, really, I think that recent studies have shown that heterosexuals are no more likely than homosexuals to be abused and have a neglected life with a father and everything. So there's really no difference, and it's not really how you grow up. It's kind of in your genetics, really. They're kind of really born that way.
Mm-hmm. I see what you mean. So could you explain some support and hate groups that revolve around homosexuality?
Yeah, there's really some terrible hate groups out there. And one is Dove World Outreach.
I've heard of them.
Really? Yeah, they're very harsh, but they do vicious attacks against gays on the websites. It's pretty demeaning. And also American Vision, they held this whole Christian Reconstruction thing where they support executions of Christians.
That's horrible.
It really is. Yeah. And also some support groups are GLAAD. It's GLAAD. It's Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, and they're a really good group for people,
Yeah.
And the last one is LGBT. It's lesbian, gay, bi, and transvestite. It's a really nice group. It's a nice support group. Yeah.
So what are your views about homosexuality now versus 20 years ago?
There's a lot more support in today's American society than there was a while ago. There's so many more support groups, and even though there are hate groups,
yeah, every day people are fighting.
There really is. No one's ever going to love one thing, Mm-hmm. And it's changed dramatically. I think for the good of it, because states are supporting it now, and I mean, in the Middle East, it's getting better, but it's still pretty harsh. But
Yeah.
it's gotten better.
Especially in the United States.
Yeah, there's more acceptance. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Our next guest is Connor McInerney, an alumni from Penn State who graduated with a degree in law.
How's the kids?
Great. Yeah, I don't have any.
Jokes.
So, what are the current laws surrounding homosexuality?
Well, with the separation with church and state, there's a lot of different laws, many of them conflicting. The church says that they accept gay people as long as they remain not acting on their desires, and then the states kind of vary because there's some states allow it, for example New York, while other states are violently against it, like Oklahoma. So it depends on where you're from.
So would you say that different countries and provinces have different laws?
Yeah, the United States is actually one of the more accepting, believe it or not, because some states you get life in jail, death penalty, other places it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. What is the church's view?
The church's view on homosexuality and gay marriage is that you're allowed to be a homosexual, but gay marriage is not allowed because marriage is sacred and is about procreation, and homosexuals just can't procreate. You can't get a woman pregnant by a woman. It can't happen.
That's very strong in the church. What moral laws are involved?
There's a lot of moral laws included in this specific ideal of homosexuality, but the thing is moral laws are so strict and unbendable. It says they can't act on their desires. They can be it and they can want it, but they just can't do it. Mm-hmm. The lust can't be there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there will be any future laws, and if so,
the church isn't going to change. The church is dead set on it's wrong. You can't have kids. You can't do it. That's sacred in marriage. But the countries, specifically America, seem to be leaning more towards accepting it. I mean, 20 years ago, no states allowed it, and now they're open at 6. Washington, D.C., it's on the rise. Many things have civil unions going. It looks like it will be leaning towards that way, but it's also, a lot of it is more set towards the northern states, like New York, Connecticut, all the ones allowed, and all the ones violently opposed, Alabama, Texas. Slavery in the Civil War, it's all over again. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get to that point where we're going to go to war about it, but I mean, it's the same kind of issue.
Mm-hmm. It's a different area.
It's a retro, rural versus city thing.
Okay, well, thanks so much.
No problem. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Say hi to Portia.
Okay. Our last guest of the day is a student from Archbishop Ryan High School, Gina Luciano. Excited to have you here.
Same. I always wanted to meet you.
Always. Oh my God. So, do you think that this moral issue of homosexuality supports human dignity?
Well, in the eyes of God, our moral issue of homosexuality isn't necessarily wrong, but once you act upon this desire, all human dignity is lost, and God would pretty much qualify that as a sin.
Mm-hmm. Does it promote the best interests of the community?
I would say that some parts of the community would definitely be affected by homosexuality, but there are some studies that have been done that prove that for homosexuals that there are higher rates of domestic violence, child molestation, sexual behavior, and most importantly, mental and physical diseases.
What do you think are the future trends on the moral issue, and will it be increasingly more accepted or less by society or the church?
In the future, the trends on homosexuality will most likely become more and more accepted in society and in the church, but people are very critical in today's world, and views will hopefully change for the better in order to be accepting of other people's perspectives.
What is your own opinion?
Although everyone is created equal in the church considers homosexuality unnatural. For most things, we should be able to have our own opinions on life, but in the church's eyes, this isn't one of them. As some would say, God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
That's a great way to put it.
Thank you.
How can you apply the information you have learned to developing a moral conscience?
I can take into consideration more of what I've learned and begin to respect the opinions of others. My moral conscience tells me what is wrong and whether or not my view on homosexuality is good or bad.
You did great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
It's nice to see you.
Me too. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for Kim Kardashian and Chris Humphries, their first interview together after the divorce.